Sohinki. Defiance from Tryon Worlds, based on the sci-fi series, is a new third-person shooter MMO that seeks to mix the frenetic, action-packed pace of a shooter with the persistence and massive scale of an MMO. So is Defiance a massive amount of fun, or is it just a grind? Let's find out.
Now, Arcunner.
Hold on, Captain. That one isn't wearing your beloved uniform. They don't take orders from you. Sorry about that, friend.
We land in 10.
I have to admit two things going in. One, I don't know anything about the Defiance sci-fi series that's coming out, so I had no backstory going in. Two, I did not have enough time to play what I felt was enough of the game, so Defiance won't be getting a score. I will, however, go through and talk about the things that I liked and disliked. Defiance starts with you on board a stratocarrier that crash lands. Your character is an Ark Hunter, a sort of futuristic survivalist who seeks out lost alien technology in return for big cash rewards. In the future, there are two races, Votan and Human, and both work in harmony to combat mutant enemies on the planet and salvage what remains of destroyed alien tech that falls to Earth. The only problem, there are lots of people after the technology, including the mutant people that live on the planet. To be honest, while the story is integral to a good MMO, I was much more interested in how this one played. So, how does it play? Well, it feels like a less ridiculous version of Just Cause crossed with Borderlands, but then also an MMO. If that sounds awesome to you, it's because this game is pretty awesome. Your character improves in Defiance much in the same way that it does in Borderlands. You get better equipment, including special weapons, shields, and grenades, as well as better skills that you upgrade via a talent grid. While Defiance is an MMO, it's got a very distinct path that you're supposed to go on as far as story, and while this may sound bad, there isn't much grinding in Defiance, which is probably the worst part of any MMO for me. I thought this portion of the design was absolutely superb, and though you're playing with other people and it's in an MMO setting, the game actually had a very single-player vibe to it when you're doing the story. Speaking of playing with other people, while there is a story, there are also big random world events called Ark Falls where alien tech falls from the sky randomly, and you're tasked with salvaging it and usually fighting some insane monsters in the process. It breaks up the gameplay nicely, and while it may get old at some point, you can't argue that it is pretty cool. The thing that Defiance does really well is making this feel like a third-person shooter despite its MMO-ness. The fast-paced run-and-gun action of a normal third-person shooter is very much alive, and if you're doing PvP, which is amazingly easy to hop into no matter what level you are, it literally just feels like a third-person shooter. The cool part, you get to try out all of the badass equipment that you've been accumulating in the single player. You enter the PvP arena via a quick menu, and you can do it whenever you want. While a low-level player may have worse equipment than the high-level player, I haven't noticed much of a disadvantage as a low-level player playing against a higher one. Everyone's health is relatively low, so as long as you're not using one of the starting guns, you'll still be able to compete relatively well. There are 4 classes in the game, but all these classes do is give you a nudge in a particular direction. For instance, the Scout starts out with a sniper rifle, so it gives you a head start in that direction, but as any of the classes, you can use any weapon and have access to all the same talents. What this means is that if you decide you want to be a scout and use a sniper rifle, you can do interesting things with the talents to fit various playstyles. At first I was unsure, but I do really like this mechanic as it allows you to invent some interesting ways to play based on your equipment and how you've chosen to specialize. If I had to pick on one thing that I didn't like about Defiance, is that there didn't seem to be much of a penalty for dying. Firstly, you can revive yourself once no matter what when you die, and secondly, if you die again, you simply have to pay a small fee to warp to safety. A minor complaint to be sure, but definitely worth mentioning. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the review, because this is an MMO, I don't feel that I've played enough to really give it a fair score, so for now, I'll just say that I recommend trying it out. It is full price, so perhaps if you're unsure, you should play on a friend's account first or something. Also, as a side note, this is what a review looks like! See you guys next time.